What's up, folks? It is Eagle Sunday, and what we hope for is an actual turnaround. What we've seen in the last 2 weeks. Obviously, within the last 2 weeks, we haven't seen much from the Eagles. The week before, we talked about it on Thursday that we didn't see Nick show up. Last week, Jalen Hurts stated that he wanted to flush this game, I guess, down the toilet. So we'll see what's going to happen this week. Does the entire team show up? Offense, defense, special teams, who knows? But we'll see what happens in today's game, as we do have, I see here waiting in the green room, both Phil Andrews from New Jersey Network News Network, and along with that, Pollo Jaidar from Kansas City Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs Espanol, live from Mexico. So we have a good panel of guests on. Thanks to both guys coming on with me this Sunday. And we hope, again, that this week we shall see what this team is all about, as we hope for a W, not 1-3, but actually make this an even 2-2 record for the season. So we'll get into all that right after this. I'm Angel. This is episode 84 with Phil and Pollo. This is Broad Street South. Now, before I bring on, of course, Mr. Andrews, the one thing that I want to show to everyone, if I can share my screen here correctly. Let me go back. Yep, that one right there. I'm going to bring up here in a second. As you guys can see, let me make this actually full screen if I possibly can. That way you can take me out the picture. There you go. So on the full screen here, what you will see on the introductions for both gentlemen here, if you guys follow Phil Andrews under at Phil Andrews TV, what you will see, he covers it under sports and entertainment. Oh, and by the way, that link that you guys see right there on the screen where it's highlighted, if you click on that, it brings them to the home screen here at philandrews.tv. And you guys will see the experience and the knowledge that Phil has here. Tons of it coming from, obviously, as most of us have known him from 6ABC. And then over now with the NJNN network. Lots of experience with Phil Andrews. And it is great to have Phil on with us. And as I will swing on over as well to Pollo's page here on Facebook, also actually here on Twitter, at Espanol Chiefs. So you can follow him just as much as we do, and also on Facebook at Chiefs Kingdom Espanol Podcast, which he is live again from Mexico. So I'll bring on both gentlemen here onto the screen. First being Phil Andrews. Phil, how are you today?
What's going on? Listen, it's been a while since I've been on with you. I must commend you on your production skills. What you guys have done is great. It woke me. I was actually just falling asleep, and when the music came on, I was like, whoa, what is that? And nice job. You guys, that's a nice job. You've really improved what was already a good show and made it better. Good stuff. Good stuff.
I appreciate it, because it's like everything else. We laugh about it because we look back to week one, day one, when it started. And I do remember, as we talked about it, I think it was on Thursday, Phil, that it was a wobbly table that I set up originally with my laptop, which, the webcams on laptops aren't the great. And then it was on another box crate on top of that, the monitor, so I can have two things going. And since then, it's become a production studio. So it's getting there. It's work in progress.
That's like in anything. When you own a business, you're constantly changing things, upgrading things to make it better. And this is very, very nice job. Very professional look. Good on you guys.
Thank you very much. We got Pollo here, and we'll get caught up with you in a second, so I don't want to leave him hanging too long in the green room. Pollo, how are you? ¿Cómo está?
Buenos días. Good morning, Angel. Good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here again in what's going to be a really fun game. Really bad defense from the Chiefs and average offense from the Eagles. I mean, I think we're going to see a lot of points in this game.
Well, listen, we hope so. And the things, we hear the preparations by Nick Sirianni. We hear the preparations by the defense. Michael Clay, I believe, had a couple of choice words that he wanted to say. Nothing obviously negative about the Eagles and what they're preparing for this week. So it's a lot riding on today's game. It's by no means for both teams. Now, I'm not going to say it's a do or die game, because it's not. We got plenty of weeks to go here. We're only talking about week 4. We're leading up to week 18 this year, week 17. So we have plenty more games left. Things can happen. Things can change. One thing that we talked about earlier during the week as well is that we didn't expect for the Eagles to really come firing out the gate, because brand new coaching staff, brand new set of players. Not everyone, because we kept a good few from the year before, but things haven't been going as smooth as they wanted to go. So we'll see what's going to happen today. Obviously, a lot of talk in the media as far as what's expected from both teams. Patrick Mahomes not having the fastest start everyone expected out of KC. There's a lot still that needs to happen, and that's going to happen as the year goes by. But before we get into the X's and O's and all the play matching, Phil, speaking of, I didn't notice, obviously, that you have the PhilAndrews.tv, which looks pretty sharp when I brought it up here. That looks really good. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had same thing. That is probably about 7 or 8 years old. I created it to use to promote my work, and also to if anybody, prospective employers, wanted to look at my history, there's video of what I've done on there, and I've done news, I've done sports, I've done politics, I've done it all. And just like your show, I continually upgraded it to the point that it is now, and I'm happy with it. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, you're welcome. No problem whatsoever. So now, the last time we were on, we're talking about different avenues as far as sports. And by the way, we are going to get into a little bit of this ridiculous nonsense when it comes to one particular Sixers player, because it's gotten to the point of now someone's losing salary. Now someone's not doing as well. So it's getting to be just a little bit ridiculous to what's going on. But we shall, again, it's one of those things that we shall see what's going to happen here with the Sixers, with the organization. We'll see. I mean, things do happen rapidly here in Philadelphia. So we'll get into that a little bit later on. But we're getting into, obviously, today's game. This has to have a bigger implication, I think, with the other two losses that we've seen. Obviously, the one from Dallas, that was probably the worst game so far this season. Can it get any worse, Phil? It can. You know that. I know that. We've seen it from the Eagles before. Do we want it to get better? By all means. So Nick Sirianni talked about what the defense needs to do this week, what our linebackers have to get as far as the protection they need to get at least the turnovers. On the offensive line, the protection they need for Jalen Hurts himself. Jalen Hurts, minimal talk this week as far as it comes to media, but he, like he said, he held that whole entire game last week on him. So the expectations this week for Jalen Hurts, I guess we'll start off with him. What do we expect this week, what we've seen from the past 2 weeks versus the loss on the 49ers and the Cowboys?
Oh, gosh. Well, unfortunately, what happens in this situation, because of everything that went down with the trading of Carson Wentz and then the Eagles naming Jalen their starter, well, they actually waited until the very last day, right, to name Jalen the starting quarterback. Right. They brought in 2 seasoned veterans. They brought in a Super Bowl MVP champion, Flacco, and then they went out and got Minshew, who, by the way, I think is really the third-string quarterback right now. But the problem is if he continues to lose and it starts getting into his mind, he'll start pressing more, and the opportunity to make more mistakes will be there. I just had a really horrible feeling about that game Monday night. I just didn't think the Eagles were going to win that game. I didn't think they were going to get beat down as bad as they did. And with each game that you watch Jalen play, you can see some of the deficiencies. And I'm not saying anything that a lot of real football fans don't know, to the point where if Jalen was going to be their guy, the guy that they traded away their potential MVP from 4 years ago away, right, why are they talking about going after Deshaun Watson? That's my problem. I mean, the kid's got so much pressure on him to come in here, be the guy, and then he hears in the background the Eagles have given the okay to work out a deal for Watson. He got beat badly in his last game, and if that continues to mount, that's going to create some problems, I think, psychologically for Jalen.
I think so too. I'd have to agree with you on that one as well, because to me it makes no sense on why the rumors and the articles and everything else that come out this week on apparently Jeffrey giving Howie the green light to make a run at Deshaun Watson. If Deshaun is supposed to be the future of this franchise, then it's the same way. You're looking at Carson Wentz, Nick Foles all over again. Obviously, Carson Wentz felt the pressure when Nick Foles ended up winning as a backup quarterback, the Super Bowl for the Eagles, and SB 52 here just a couple years ago. And so now we're recreating the same chaos, the same kind of chaos from just a couple of short years ago. And so why do it at this point? Jalen is going to learn. We all know that this is technically really his freshman year, because last year he only came in for 4 games. Last game we also saw that obviously Doug had pulled it for, I guess, a pick for most part. Everybody's finally admitting this year. but also because of lack of communication problems between Doug and the front office. So we hope that doesn't rear its ugly head all over again. But again, I don't understand why in the world this big push on why we have to have Deshaun Watson here. Because to me, it seems like you already have your two other backup quarterbacks within Minshew and obviously Flacco. So now you bring in Deshaun. So then does Deshaun become your starting QB, let's just say for all intents, purpose reasons, that he comes in week 6. So week 6, are we looking at Deshaun Watson, your starting QB, Jalen Hurts, then your backup, which means either Flacco or Minshew are going to the practice squad. So to me, I don't understand why there's got to be, just like you, and I'm pretty sure other Eagles fans as well, why there has to be such a big push for Deshaun Watson to come here. To me, it makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, I don't think Flacco is eligible for the practice squad. So one of those two quarterbacks would have to go. If they're making a trade for Deshaun Watson, he's your starting quarterback. That's the bottom line. You don't make a trade for a guy with that ability and bring him in to be a backup. So yes, if they make that deal, he's coming in to be your starting quarterback.
I also see the one Godfather down there. I see his camera's kind of freezing up. I'm going to bring in here my co-host that's normally on set, but he's out there at the link. Actually, I see him. I think you're at the studio link there. Fuji, what's going on? How are you?
What's going on, fellas? Game day.
There you go. I was going to tell you, Mike, turn around and face the outside so we can see your beautiful face. There you go.
Kind of loud.
Much better. No, much better. There you go.
It's kind of loud where I am, so I'm like back right underneath 95 tailgating. So this is probably like the best area, really, with no music or anything.
Gotcha.
So I can actually hear everybody.
Gotcha.
Good. So, Mike, I want to get, of course, you being there live at the link. What is so far the atmosphere at the link this morning, being there from Dark 30?
I got down here around 8 o'clock. I mean, it's live and kicking. Couple spots still open, so I'm kind of like surprised. Like a big game, Chiefs in town, Andy Reid, Kelsey versus Kelsey, Patrick Mahomes. You know, I don't know if it's just Eagles fans didn't show up today. They got where I'm tailgating, it's alive and well, and Eagles chants all over.
Well, listen,
Eagles fans are ready to bring it today.
I will say one thing that tends to drive me nuts a little bit about Philly. Love my city, love where I was born and raised, but it drives me nuts, and it's almost become fair weather. Whether if the Eagles, again, it's a rebuilding year. Everybody knows this. But the one thing that drives me absolutely nuts is that, okay, so you lost 2.
Angel, I'm having trouble hearing you, but I could hear everybody else.
Okay. I don't know why, unless there's something going wrong here, but I'll check with the producer. I turned up my volume, and I don't know if everybody else. Phil, can you, and Pollo, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right, so I'm not too sure, Fuji, unless it's just because of where you are as far as the outside. But, and I lost my little train.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
Can't see you, but we can hear you.
Yeah. You have to turn the other way, Fuji. So turn where you can.
No, I can't hear anything.
Yeah.
Turn around so we can see your face.
If you can't hear
see some Chiefs jerseys.
Oh boy! All right. Well, listen. If you can't hear, try to either two things. Try to exit out and go back into the link again from the phone. So try and do that.
Yeah, he can't hear you.
No. He might have to. Yeah, he's going sideways. Yeah, he'll come back. All right. So, but again, as I just mentioned here shortly, obviously Eagles fans, they tend to show up in numbers, and then when things go wrong, they decide to give away their tickets. I saw a bunch of tickets for sale this weekend, which to me makes no sense. Just 1 and 2, folks. Pump the brakes. It'll be okay. Worst case that can happen is we go 1-17, become the new Cleveland Browns, which I don't see that happening. So it's time to calm down just a little bit. But boy, we know that the same way here with Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes has not been who we all have seen in years past. Granted, he's still young in his NFL career. He's already won a Super Bowl with Andy Reid. Andy Reid, of course, comes home today to Philly because it'd be a pretty good celebration, just like another QB going home to New England today. And all the fans up there have been excited, as my own mother called me before the show got started to let me know how excited she was. And my mom The knowledge of football is next to none. But she knows Tom Brady. She knows he meant a lot to New England. And so she decided to call me to let me know that he was back home. That's great, Ma. Thank you. I appreciate it, but it's all right. No big worries. But, Pollo, so Kansas City, we're talking about Patrick Mahomes now. Mahomes not off to a fast start. Do you know of, from the organization, by any means, is he injured, or is it one of those things where he just hasn't played a good enough game yet?
No, he's actually really healthy. He had a surgery, a toe surgery for turf toe. But he said he's 100 okay. The thing is, turnovers. That's the name of the Chiefs season, turnovers. You can turn it up over 4 times in a game. 2 of them were interceptions. The first one, everybody says it was a catchable ball. It was a really catchable ball, but he's the 5th wide receiver. It's Kemp. And you throw a no-look pass. He didn't expect it. He doesn't have the same chemistry as Tyreek, Kelsey, maybe even Robinson. You can't make those mistakes because the no-look pass in that spot, it wasn't necessary. He was wide open. But, it's the Patrick Mahomes experience. He comes with everything. And I'm okay with that. I don't want to take away that part from Mahomes. A lot of Chief players, not players, I mean, a lot of Chief fans were raving about that in this week that he has to stop. But, I mean, he's Patrick Mahomes. He's been doing it for 3 years, and everything has been okay. It's just a bump. I mean, you see, he's still the 6th or the 5th with most passing yards in the league. The offense is 5 in points per game, 6 in yards per game, in points per play. It's first. I mean, the offense isn't the problem. If you see that about Mahomes, I mean, against the Ravens, it was a freak interception that he was throwing the ball and he got pulled. And he threw the ball right to a defender. But, I mean, you say, you got to let Patrick Mahomes keep playing. And one of the things that I love about Andy Reid is every time, right after a Mahomes pick, he comes right up to him and tells him, keep firing. Keep firing, keep firing. He knows that the best Mahomes is the Mahomes that is aggressive every game. So I really don't think Mahomes is gonna regress this season like a lot of people are thinking. I think, I mean, those 3 first games were the hardest games the Chiefs are gonna get this season, and well, maybe Green Bay Packers, but that's an offensive juggernaut. So defensively, those are the 3 best teams that the Chiefs are going to face all year. And to face the best 3 defensive teams, and you still manage to put up 30 points per game, I don't see it like really big trouble.
Listen, again, we hope that, and you're absolutely right, as far as when it comes to Patrick Mahomes, he may not be playing at his best, at his level. We do see Lamar Jackson a lot of times, too, for Baltimore. He struggles early in the season, but then obviously Lamar Jackson, you can kind of compare him to like the St. Louis Cardinals. St. Louis Cardinals, throughout the season, you can count them out. But come when it matters, August, September, the Cardinals are right there, and here they are again in the postseason. So it's the same way with Patrick Mahomes. He may not, it may have been sluggish for him, but we saw it, I guess, towards the tail end of last season with Kansas City. We saw it during the playoffs, obviously losing it in the Super Bowl. But it doesn't mean that he's out as far as a quarterback. No. Do we expect bigger things for Patrick Mahomes? Yes.
Yes.
As far as the fan base, it's going to get bigger. So I don't think, again, there's no emergency to say that Patrick Mahomes is not playing at 100% capacity. But we know he'll get there. I saw that Rick had just put a comment up here stating that Lane Johnson is also out now. Which is, not a good thing. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to because having here on the third monitor what's going on. But during the live show, it's kind of hard to see exactly what's going on. But if Lane Johnson's out, oh boy. that might make it tough for this offensive squad today to protect Jalen Hurts. And we've seen that pocket collapse within the last 2 games really bad, where Jalen's got to scramble out. And we hope that he throws the ball away a lot more than what we've seen here in the past couple of weeks, because if that's the case, it will not be good. And Rick says again that sadly the only thing the fans have going for them today is the sunny weather. That might be the case, but who knows? And Mark, if you're still watching, because he said you can. Fuji's right. I can barely hear you. So hopefully that you guys can end up hearing me. I adjusted the volume mic here, so hopefully things happen. It's a live show. That's the way, unfortunately, the audio technical side of things sometimes doesn't rear its ugly head until the show goes live. But getting into this offensive line, Phil, going back to you here for a second. Last 2 weeks, we have not seen the best from this O-line. I think Kelsey the same way too. We haven't seen the best from Kelsey yet. Granted, yeah, I know he has a partial injury, which has been kind of seemed like undisclosed when it comes to the Eagles. He hasn't been feeling 100%, but still doing playing at least at best at his position here. The offensive line coming up here against Kansas City. Are we looking at evenly matched up? Because again, KC obviously had 1 and 2, the same record as the Eagles. Seems like their offensive line is also struggling for Patrick Mahomes. So do we see at least an even spread this week with both offensive lines from the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs?
No, because if it's true, and whoever just typed that in, they probably saw it on one of the pregame shows. If Lane Johnson is out, you're now going into this game with 4 of your 5 starting linemen out. Kelsey is the only starter to go today, right? And the knock about Kelsey is, even though he's been a Pro Bowler, he's always the undersized lineman on the line. But he does a good job. So this just makes it even worse for Hurts, because now where's the protection coming from? You're 2 outs. Although I have to give Dillard credit. Dillard stepped in, for Jordan Mailata last week, and actually was fairly decent. But the problem, you talked about Jalen scrambling. A lot of that is on Jalen. He's a first sign of trouble, he puts his head down and he runs with the ball. And if you saw the all 22s from last week, there were several times when he had receivers open that he failed to pass the ball. And the situation with a quarterback like Hurts, when he was in college, he was able to do it all because he was always playing on teams who had the best talent and always playing against teams who had lesser talent. But now in the NFL, everything's even. The talent is even. It could be a long afternoon for Jalen. And like Polo said, Patrick Mahomes, it's an anomaly because he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I hate to say this, but I can't see Kansas City losing 3 games in a row. I just don't see it.
Yeah, that'd be you and I both, because I don't see it as well. Again, we'll get into a little bit of a prediction score a little bit later on here, but I don't see it as well. Unfortunately, seeing 3 losses in a row, again, as I called it earlier during the season, I predicted that the Eagles would have gone 0-6 the first 6 games, just because if you're looking at it just by schedule, it would be 0-6, and then the Eagles will start at least marching on to having themselves a club 500 record. But the surprising win was against Atlanta, which should have been a loss, but ended up getting the win. And then you thought maybe with San Fran, you would have the magical win there. It didn't happen. And obviously with Dallas, one thing again that I expected for them to lose in Dallas, but win later on in the season as they come home to the Eagles on week 14. So things can turn around. You're right as far as with Jalen Hurts making his own issues, his own problems. I don't know if this year, if the problem is looking out the visor or looking out from the helmet there of what he doesn't see versus what we all see. Now, it's different, obviously, when you're standing in line in formation there versus what we see on TV. But if he's not, having that key sense, that makes it a little bit more tough. So I'm hoping that he can turn around this week. And I see Fuji's come back in with his sunglasses. So let me see if I can get Fuji back on here to see what he has to say. Fuji,
yeah. Looks like a mob boss.
Yeah.
Hey. Lane, I just got word that I don't know how true this is. Lane Johnson is out today.
Yeah, we just Rick Marcus just put it up there on one of the comments that Lane Johnson was out. So apparently,
I think it's that ankle from last year that's hobbling him. So remember when he was dancing in the locker room?
Yeah.
And he got the surgery.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate if that's the case. It's really unfortunate. We hope that obviously maybe he'll come back. Who knows? I mean, it's difficult to tell where a lot of these minor injuries are now they're plaguing the Eagles, and unfortunately, it's week after week after week here, and we've seen that obviously this injury bug does not leave Philly. It happened to the Flyers again. Obviously, it happened to the Phillies earlier during the season. Phillies, of course, out of postseason contention, so we not see a red October in Philly. But we will see a blue and white, October here in Tampa as the Rays have won their 100th game of the season. The Rays doing some amazing things with a team that obviously does not have the money like the Phillies and the Yankees or any other teams, but it's amazing what those guys have been doing. So, yeah, I know, Fuji. I hear you grumbling. I know you don't like it, but it's just one of those things.
Lane Johnson's out due to a personal matter.
Oh,
from what just came over.
Wow. That's not
So
good.
now we got 4 out of 5 guys out. So
yeah, so Julio
on
just
that
put out there,
offensive
too.
line.
He said that Lane Johnson is out for personal issue, not injury. So, oh boy. Well, first of all, let's hope that whatever it is, that everything is fine. Let's hope it's not bad news because I know he had. I think it wasn't too long ago, if I remember correctly. He had someone in the family that passed. I want to say just 2 years ago or so. So hopefully it's not something that's really bad. Hopefully it's good. Good news rather than he had to take personal time than bad news and worry about what happens to as far as any of his family members. Fuji, as far as your take, what I asked Phil earlier here, what do you expect today out of Jalen Hurts, what we've seen from the past 2 weeks?
Me? I'm sorry. Somebody was talking. Oh, I mean, Kansas City, a 6-point differential, 3 games. Kansas City's pretty much got the worst run defense in the league. So Nick Sirianni, pound the ball. Just like, when you came out against Atlanta. You got to just run the ball. You got to take the beat in the opposing team's weakness.
Rick says
That's my thing. Mix it up with Boston Scott, Miles Sanders, and Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah, but we haven't seen that. That's the one thing that we haven't seen. Great point, but we've yet to see that three-headed monster, even though it's not really one. But we still haven't seen that. And one thing that Miles Sanders talked about earlier during this week was just that. They said they need to run the ball a lot more. So I'm just wondering, and this will go, as a matter of fact, I'll take it around the panel here. We need to see this run game, even for Kansas City, no different than the Eagles. We need to see this run game going. So do we see it today? Fuji, I'll start it with you and then take it over to Phil.
Hey, I say run the ball. You ran the ball 3 times last week. Pound it. Grounded and pounded against a weak defense going under Dave Spagnuolo. You got to do it. The team's dead last against the run. You got to use your strengths to their weakness. That's what I say. The run sets up the pass and get the tight ends involved. Zach Ertz coming off a big game last week. Why not get the tight ends? Now you got Lane Johnson out, so you might have to plug somebody on either end with Andre Dillard or whoever's playing right tackle in to fill in the block. So pound it. Beat this team down to their weakness. That's like I said, pound Gainwell. Let Miles Sanders loose. Get Boston Scott in there, screen passes. Do whatever you got to do it.
We'll see, Phil.
Yeah, I have to agree with what he just said. 3 designed runs for the running backs last week. That's unheard of, right? Especially when you've got one of the top running backs in the league in your backfield in Sanders. All the other runs were, from Hurts, and some of those weren't designed. It was him taking off and running with the ball. You got to run the ball. How do you deviate from that game plan? Unless, of course, you're in a situation like they were Monday night against Dallas where you fell behind. And as you know, when you fall behind, you don't run the ball. You pass the ball to try and catch up. And that became a problem. Lots of pressure on Hurts. But, yeah, Mike is 100% right. You have to run the ball more. And they've got 3 guys who are capable of getting to the outside and making things happen.
Let's hope Pollo from the Kansas City side.
Pollo.
Yeah, you're 100% right. the problem right now for the Eagles is 4 offensive linemen injured, right? So, well, not injured, not playing. So the best way to counter that is by running. When you don't have that chemistry, in your offensive line, it's easier to block for a run than block for a pass. So you got to run. And against the Chiefs, you can do whatever you want. You can run, you can pass, and you are going to succeed. So don't worry about the defensive side of the Chiefs, that they're bad against the run. Well, they're bad against the pass. But the thing that hurts most the Chiefs is the play action. And in order to succeed in play action, to make it a really efficient game, you have to run the ball. Everybody knows that, right? So it's really easy to beat the Chiefs. Well, I mean, to run against the Chiefs, to pass against the Chiefs. But the best thing, like you've been saying, is run the ball. Don't stay away from the run, even if you are behind 14 points. Andy Reid, he tends to step off the gas. He doesn't like to run the game away. He doesn't like to kill the opponent. So you still have the chance to come back with a running game. So I really think, and in the other side, you were talking about the offensive line that is going to have a lot of problems with Jalen Hurts. Well, Chiefs' defensive line is one of the worst in the NFL right now in pressures. And it's 25% of the salary cap, it's on the defensive line. So I don't know why one of the strengths in textbook from the Chiefs is one of the biggest weakness right now. So for me, no Lane Johnson, I'm like, you don't need him right now. And you can name me whoever you want, and you don't need them right now. I mean, Frank Clark has been underwhelming, and he's not playing. That's going to be his best game of the season, maybe, because he's not playing. I mean, every time he's been there, he's been a liability. He's making, I think, 28 million a year. So I don't think the Eagles are going to have a really bad day in offense, even with the 4 backup linemen today.
Right, that's absolutely true. And by the way, I see Chipper. Hang on for 1 second. I want to bring a comment here live. Same way with Fuji here. By the way, Atlas Van Lines, you're welcome. You got apparently tons of free promo there as Fuji was going around in a circle. So you're welcome for the free promotion there, Atlas. So you guys, in case you guys need need a show, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Is that better that I'm not advertising Atlas Van Lines? I mean, what?
if they need a show to get.
Hey, look, there's 95 above me. Is that better?
That's fine.
Now you got me in the sunlight.
Yeah, it's okay. It's all fun and games. I'm not worried about it. It's just the way it happens. But again, I want to talk about it. You guys made all great points here. The one thing that I was going to play today, which I'm not going to play at this point because it's tending to drive me a little bit crazy. I want to see if you guys kind of somewhat agree on it. Zach Ertz last week was mic'd up in Dallas. And, we hear him talking about getting the boys hyped up, screaming their ear, getting himself, to the point where he wants to get game ready. But Zach Ertz is not playing to Zach Ertz's potential. We heard that this offseason, it could have been a possibility, he could have been traded. He knows that he didn't want to be traded. He wanted to have all these different things. He wanted to stay in Philly, so the Eagles kept him around. Jeffrey Lurie kept him here. But I don't see Zach Ertz making a potential difference. Not saying that Dallas Goedert is doing anything super spectacular either since week 1. But we're looking at Zach Ertz here, and Zach is just not playing to his full potential. So, Fuji, I'll start here with you. Zach Ertz, again, as much as we expect to see great things from Jalen Hurts, is Zach just not prepared anymore to be an Eagle, or is it just one of those things where he's just going through some sort of weird, phenomenal fluke?
Well, I mean, it just seems like the injuries are creeping up on him. I mean, he's probably, playing with a hamstring injury, and he's, he was, like you said, he was mic'd up last week. He had 113 yards receiving, a touchdown. I mean, the guy is bringing it, but he's probably playing through the injury. And, of anybody on this, you got a bunch of rookies with this receiving core. You got him and Dallas Goedert. I mean, he's the veteran that's been there. He's won the ring. He knows what it takes to win. He's firing up Jalen Hurts to give that man some confidence. And he's the leader on this offense right now because he's been here. He's been through the trenches. He's got the ring, the hardware, the Super Bowl to bring it. Besides Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Brandon Brooks, he's the one on this offense that knows everything. So basically, he's the leader, and Jalen Hurts is still getting his feet wet. So, I give Zach Ertz a break, and he's basically the quarterback trying to lead Jalen Hurts in the right direction. I mean, you don't have an experienced receiver that's been through the trenches with Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Jalen Reagor. He's been there. So I say give Zach Ertz as the quarterback of the offense, even though he's playing tight end.
True. So I like to get European. Same thing here when it comes to Zach Ertz.
Yeah, Zach Ertz is not a problem to me. I mean, I think he was the leading receiver in last week's game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been an outlet. Yeah, I think he's been an outlet for Hurts as he was for Carson Wentz, which is what the tight end is designed to do in this offense. Zach Ertz is really, for me, he's the last of their problems on offense. The fact that like the other night they didn't run the ball as much as they should, and Mike hit it right on the head. Look how young this receiving core is. They're all first and second year players. They don't have that veteran wide receiver.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a serious problem. So yeah, I don't see there being an issue with Zach Ertz. And speaking of Kelsey, Polo, I mean, you guys, the Chiefs have one of the best tight ends in the league. People could say that he's also been struggling just a little bit early in the season, but that could be as a result of the way that the quarterback is playing too.
Yeah, and the thing is, the double teams. Tampa Bay put up their way to not stopping, like slowing down the Chiefs offense, and it's by not blitzing. And if you don't blitz the Chiefs, you can rush only with 4, sometimes with 3 and a quarterback spy, because Mahomes tends to leave the pocket really early. So the thing is, while rushing 4 guys, you can double up Tyreek and you can double up underneath the Kelsey. So that's been the problem. We don't have number 2 wide receiver. It's actually something strange. They're calling it like a number 2 wide receiver by committee. I haven't seen that before, and that's been the problem for the Chiefs. You don't have a truly number 2 wide receiver. That's why they went up there and bring Josh Gordon from the street. He's not playing today. I actually don't think he's gonna play until the week 6 or 7, something like that. But that's been the problem. Double team against Kelsey, and he's right now, I think, 4th or 5 in yards in the whole league. I mean, as a tight end, he's number 1, but as a wide receiver and tight end, he's number 5. So he's been struggling. It's not the same. It's you see sometimes they forcing the ball to for Kelsey, but you need the other wide receivers to step up.
Yep, that's true. And listen, I have a comment here because I want to kind of wrap this around when it comes to you guys. Chipper over from, and by the way, if you guys get a chance, Redline Radio LLC, if you guys check them out as well, they have a show tonight called Steel City Renegades. They're on from 7 to 8:30, of course. Pittsburgh playing Green Bay today at Green Bay. So that's an important game for the Steelers. But Chipper, part of the Redline Radio LLC group, along with Dave, Lee Money, Lex Vegas, all those guys do a great job over at Redline Radio LLC. So you guys get a job, get a job. Good Lord Almighty. Boy, when things go live. if you get a chance, check out their Facebook over at Redline Radio LLC. So thanks for the comment here. He followed up with something else as well. He says the trade our offense for the Steelers offense. Yeah, it's almost just about equal at this point. But again, we're Kansas City, and I'm going to ask you a question here about Andy Reid here. Pollo, in a second here. I'll say it in Spanish that way because I know you have a lot of your viewers today watching live from Mexico, and we do appreciate it. But this team here, and I know I harp a little bit on Zach Ertz because we've seen Zach Ertz do better. And I don't know if again, and Phil, I'm going to go back to what we talked about earlier when we mentioned about Carson and Deshaun Watson. I don't know if in Zach Ertz's mind, it was one of those things that plagued him during the offseason, whether he was going to be here or not be here. He mentally prepared to be here. And I think as the time will go on, obviously it'll get better for Zach Ertz. I guess my expectations, along with the other maybe Eagles fans as well, is just we expect more out of Zach Ertz. But again, we are, I tend to forget as well, we do have a complete new coaching staff. And it's hard to gel these guys with our current players that we've had, our new players that we have. And so things need to work itself out. So I even though it may seem a little harsh on Zach Ertz, but obviously still doing Zach Ertz things, I just wish he would perform a little bit better. But again, we'll see what happens this week against Kansas City. But Pollo, getting back to you, one of two things, and Phil, by all means, if you press 2 on your video screen, you can hear it translate in English. What I say here, it's a running joke with Pollo and I. But one of two things. Para la gente de México, muchas gracias por viendo el show hoy. Gracias por Pollo estando aquí con nosotros, con Chiefs Kingdom Espanol. Y que ustedes ven el juego más tarde hoy. Será con una hora de ahora. O casi no, 45 minutos de ahora. So, gracias por estar conmigo. Y también nosotros sabemos que hoy viene Andy Reid para atrás, para Filadelfia. Y nosotros sabemos que estaba aquí con nosotros por 12 años. Siempre cada momento con nosotros, y orgulloso que estaba aquí. No ganó el Super Bowl con nosotros, porque ganó con Kansas City. La semana pasada dijeron que no se sentía bien. Y entonces esta semana no sé cómo se siente, pero yo sé que tiene que estar alegre estando acá abajo, atrás en Filadelfia. No sé si he escuchado algo de Andy diciendo que si él estaba ready para venir para atrás, está listo para venir para atrás aquí en Filadelfia. Pero ¿cómo se siente Andy de que tú sabes estando aquí en Filadelfia otra vez?
Es algo que estaba feliz Andy Reid de regresar. Siempre ha hablado bien de Filadelfia muchas veces a través de su trayectoria en México, en Kansas City. Dice que le encantó su estancia en Filadelfia, y sobre todo el Philly cheesesteak que le encanta. Está bien, tuvo una deshidratación solamente, ya hacía mucho calor en Kansas, pero ya se ve bien que va a estar de regreso al 100%. Y como te decía, él no se iba a perder el regreso a Filadelfia, que tanto menciona que le gustó mucho su estancia.
Okay, and what I asked here, just so everybody can kind of stay in contact here as far as in tune with the show. So what I asked Pollo was that Andy Reid, obviously we know he's coming back here to Philadelphia. We know that he was our longtime coach here in Philly for many years. We understand that he also left last week, obviously after the game, because first it was considered as far as heart palpitations. Come to find out that he was just dehydrated for the most part. Yeah. So we wanted to hear from the Kansas City end of it how Andy Reid felt coming back to Philly. And we know that obviously when you come home, it's a whole different thing when you're going into that visitor's locker room. We've seen many players leave from the city of Philadelphia, go to other teams, and then when we come back here, it's an odd feeling when you're on the visitor side of the house. For Andy Reid, it's obviously a big welcoming to come home. And as Pollo had stated to us that he was excited, obviously, coming back here, back to Philly, missing the cheesesteaks, as most places where you go to that you end up missing, because it's not an original thing. It's like having a Chicago hot dog outside of Chicago. It's not the same. It's a hot dog, but it's not a Chicago hot dog. So it's good to see that Andy Reid is obviously back in town. Phil, I don't know how obviously none of us are there at the stadium, but I'm pretty sure we'll get to feel the energy. For Andy Reid, he's not going to get booed. That's more than the obvious here in Philly. Nope. But if you're Andy Reid, I want you to put Phil as Andy Reid, you in his shoes. What would your expectations be? I'm not excluding as far as the game. How would you feel in the expectations? How would you feel stepping back into the link now as a winning Super Bowl coach?
Well, first of all, he's going to feel comfortable, right? Because that was his home for the longest time. And he's really, it's funny when you go back and think about when Jeffrey Lurie hired Andy Reid. He was the quarterback's coach from Green Bay. I was like, oh, who's this guy? And he
Right.
ended up leaving Philadelphia. He's the best coach in Eagles history as far as wins, losses, and success. Although he didn't win the big one. I don't think it's stepping into the link is going to be a problem for Andy Reid. And you're right. I cannot see the fans booing Andy Reid, especially after what happened this past Sunday when he had to leave the game. I think he'll get a nice reception. And also, don't forget, guys, that at the end of the first quarter, Shady, LaShawn McCoy, he's retiring as an Eagle. And at the end of the first quarter, they're going to announce it and honor him. So kind of cool that he gets to do that on the same field as the guy who drafted him, Andy Reid. So when Andy Reid was back here as the head coach, he drafted Shady McCoy. So that's also something to look out for. They're not giving him anything at halftime, but they'll honor him at the end of the first quarter. So I think that's kind of neat.
Oh,
I do believe, again, and Polo, I know Polo, you're being very kind, Polo, but I just can't see I can't see that team losing 3 games in a row. I just don't see it. So unfortunately, I think the Eagles, and please, Eagles fans, don't get mad at me. I'm being realistic. They probably will be 1-3 at the end of the day. If they're not, well, then thank goodness for that. You hope for, you think the worst, but hope for the best in this situation. So, if Jalen starts to struggle early, the fans may get on him, and that may make it even worse for him.
Well, and we hope that it's because Shady being in the house this week, and matter of fact, we have 2 more retirees coming up in the Eagles Ring of Fame there coming up. I think I want to say in 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
If I do remember, and a matter of fact, I think I do have it up here. Yep, do here. For the Hall of Fame, the Eagles Hall of Fame, Trey Thomas and John Runyon coming up here in just a matter of weeks. Same thing, and I'm pretty sure Shady will end up joining that group there as well. And obviously, it's kind of tough. I felt bad for Shady and obviously for D-Jax because they wanted to win it here in Philly. And so Chip Kelly comes here, and that's enough as far as when it comes to Chip. But he comes here, gets rid of both of these players, and, history rewrites itself. Obviously, the Eagles end up winning it with Doug Peterson. I know Shady talked about during his press conference that, as in a roundabout way, he wishes he could have done it here in Philly, win it all here. He was fortunate to get a Super Bowl ring, and he gets to retire, not one with the Eagles, but he does get to retire with the Eagles. And so I hope he is the difference maker in today's game, that maybe between the Eagles fans, the energy from LaShawn McCoy, hopefully that'll help with an Eagles victory today. But I also wanted to bring up quickly the injury report as we got it here was Jordan Mailata. Apparently he's out. He's not playing. Landon Dickerson, originally kind of questionable. I do think they activated him, if I remember correctly. Marcus Epps, Lane Johnson, obviously out now that we heard for personal reasons, not because of his ankle. Jason Kelsey is supposed to be in for a foot rest. Ronnie McLeod and Davion Taylor. So, again, thankfully, the inactive list isn't too bad, but these are guys that are not completely ruled out, minus Lane Johnson for today and Jordan Mailata. But minus those 2 guys, it shouldn't be too bad overall. The one thing that I do want to reflect upon, obviously, with going around here, the NFL, I know a lot of us are not fans of the obvious New Englanders, but Tom Brady goes home today, Phil. And he's going home as obviously a 6-time champ in New England. One here with Tampa Bay. I know the welcoming committee that was at the hotel waiting for him to get out of there had screamed and hollered and everything else, rightfully so because of what he did for New England. Now, if New England believes they're going to play spoilers today to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I hate to break the news to them because they're going to see old nostalgic Tampa Bay Tom Brady out there versus what they expect out of their young quarterback. So if you had to take a guess as far as, even when it comes to the New England game, what do you expect, Phil, out of New England as far as win or lose, and then the fan appreciation itself, obviously, from Tom Brady and his homecoming?
Wow. Well, a couple of things. Tom Brady won't have Gronk. Gronk will not play because he has fractured ribs. So his compadre won't be there. And I know that Patriots fans were probably also looking forward to seeing Gronk. I think Brady needs only 68 yards to become the all-time yardage leader in the NFL. If he surpasses that, which I can't imagine Tom throwing for less than 68 yards, the Patriots will pause. They won't stop the game like they did for Drew Brees when he did it. but they'll pause to acknowledge the fact that he did it. He'll get a standing ovation, and then the game will move on. I mean, Tom, terrific. I mean, come on. I mean, how many Super Bowls did he win for Patriots fans? 6. How can you be mad at the guy?
Right.
It was time for him to move on, and he moves on. And what does he do? He goes to another team, an unlikely team, and takes them to the Super Bowl. So maybe there's something to this magic. I mean, the guy's played in 10 Super Bowls, 10, and he's won 7 of them. So they're going to go in as the better team, I think. I think they may be favored today. Being at that stadium is not going to faze Brady at all. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun game to watch if you're a Patriots fan, I think.
Yeah, I would think so as well, because obviously they're expecting big things. Obviously from Tampa Bay today, and Antonio Brown, I believe, was reactivated. I know last week he missed it for which we thought that that Tom Brady was, or not, excuse me, that Antonio Brown was going back to what he had done beforehand. But apparently the same thing with Lane Johnson here. He had a personal issue that he had to deal with. It wasn't disclosed, and that's personal, so it shouldn't be disclosed out to everybody. But hopefully, AB will be reactivated again for the Bucs, because I do believe he did make the trip today with the Bucs. So hopefully that situation got taken care of. Boy, as far as like another game that I want to kind of quickly get into, is we got about some 9 minutes of change here left on the show. One of the rivals, obviously, for Kansas City is Baltimore, who plays Denver. Baltimore is 2-1, Denver's 3-0. So Denver being one of the few teams that are left here undefeated, other than Carolina, I believe, and LA and Arizona. Does Baltimore pose a bigger threat to Denver today? Mean, do they win over Denver, or do you expect for Denver to beat Baltimore today?
No, I mean, the Denver Broncos season starts right now. The other 3 games were like preseason games. Their first 3 teams, they have a combined record of 0-9. I mean, it was the Jets 0-3, the Jaguars 0-3, and another team 0-3. I can't remember right now. I think it was the Giants. I mean, it's been really easy for the Broncos. Don't get me wrong; they're a really solid team. They're a really complete team. One of the best defense in the league, one of the top 3 defensive backs in the league. So they're a tough team, but I don't see them beating the Baltimore Ravens right now. I mean, Ravens, their juggernaut offense is really hard to stop. The Denver Broncos' weak link right now is the run defense. They're really good against the pass, but they are struggling just a little bit stopping the run. So I see this game as just like the Ravens gave the run against us. They're going to receive the Kansas City Chiefs treatment. They just run the ball right up ahead.
Right. And Chipper brought up a good comment here when he said, will Brady Bill and hug, handshake, or just wave? Great question here, Chipper, because who knows? If obviously Tom loses, everybody knows he just walks off the field, but it'd be interesting to see. And there wasn't really a lot of love this week on the radio when it came to Brady and Belichick, because Belichick was accusing apparently Brady of taking the playbook out of New England and bringing it down to Tampa Bay. So it'll be interesting to see how this game ends up playing out. But the other game that I would like to get into as well, obviously, and Phil, I'll bring this one up with you, is the Cardinals and the Rams. Both teams undefeated. Kyler Murray looking better as he continues to evolve as quarterback, taking that pressure off, obviously his rookie season, getting into his own rhythm, his own style right now. And the Cardinals are looking pretty hot. So are obviously the Rams with the trade that they made from Detroit. Matt Stafford looking pretty daggone good when it comes to the Rams. So obviously 2 undefeated teams going to LA. That's a 4:05 game start. I'm wondering, as far as between those two, who walks out with a win? And that's a tough one. 2 great teams at 3-0.
Yeah, what a great trade. People thought that's crazy. They gave up 2 first-round picks to get him, but listen, right now it's paying off. I mean, his first game, man, he throws that bomb and boom, hello, welcome to LA.
Right.
Kyler Murray, you're right. Kyler Murray is he's tough to contain, but obviously the Rams have the one guy who's pretty good of containing him, and Donald. So That'll be another fun game to watch. There should be a lot of points scored in that game. Both defenses are good, but the offenses are equally as good. So it'll be fun to watch that game. I should probably get the dish, right, so I could see all of these games at one time. I just don't have it. But gosh. Well, the Rams are going to be favored, obviously. But that's a toss-up. I really do believe that. I'm not sure. Polo, do you know how good Arizona's defense is, their pass defense is?
It's surprisingly good because they they released Patrick Peterson, and everybody thought they were going to be really bad. And they're top 6. I can't remember, they are 5 or 6 in passing defense. So that's been a surprise for them.
Right. Well, there you have it. So strength against strength, I guess.
So the last game I like to kind of chime in with here, obviously the Giants play New Orleans. That's an easy win for New Orleans. No offense, G-Men, but apparently, which, again, at 0-3, but again, stranger things can happen. We got Pittsburgh at Green Bay. And Pittsburgh, just like the Eagles, now are taking a slide. Tough matchup. Boy, obviously from the AFC when it comes to Pittsburgh, we're hoping – And I again on the Steel City Renegade show, I said that Pittsburgh would end up walking over the division this year. Not by much. It'll probably come down to the last week. But again, plenty of football still left. Obviously, Cleveland Browns they're picking up right where they left off last year. So Cleveland looking really good as far as in the division. But Pittsburgh, Green Bay, it's a hard one because unfortunately, Ben is not looking too well. And the offense seems to be having, again, another slow start, especially from last week's game, not looking too sharp. So, boy, I'll start with you. Pittsburgh, Green Bay, who pulls off the win today?
I mean, it's a really strange game because the Steelers, they don't know what to do in offense right now. Everybody knows their defense is really good, but they're targeted Najee Harris 19 times last game. 19. He had 12 catches. Just talking about that, those stats for a wide receiver is insane. But we're talking about running back. I mean, that's really crazy. I haven't heard that stat before. So they can't run the ball because their offensive line sucks. So they try to run the ball with short passes with Najee. That's the way they're giving his biggest playmaker right now the ball. The other thing is the Steelers are really banged up right now. Juju, I don't think he's going to play. He didn't play for, I think, 3 quarters last game. Claypool had 9 catches, but he was in and out of the game because of injured. Deontay Johnson didn't play last game because of injuries. I think he's playing this time. So it's going to be a really strange game from defensive part of the Steelers. And if you see Big Ben falling when he's throwing a pass, he's physically not good in a good shape right now. I am one of those guys that think that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be in a way better place with Haskins if he's playing. I know he's not that efficient, but he makes a lot of big plays. And that's what the Pittsburgh offense needs right now. And in the other side of the ball, it's going to be really fun to watch the offensive power of Green Bay Packers, Devante Adams, obviously Mr. MVP, Aaron Rodgers, against a really, really good defense from the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I think the Green Bay Packers takes this home again, but it's going to be a really fun game to watch.
All right. So, expectations, Pittsburgh, Green Bay.
Did you see what Aaron Rodgers did last week?
Yeah.
We had 30 seconds left in the game to win it. He is he's unbelievable. He's the guy that came up a couple of years ago with the term relax. And sure enough, after their first loss, the same thing happened. And what has happened? He's brought them back. Polo, I don't think Claypool is playing today. I think I think Juju is playing. He's going to play hurt. What I would do, and you're absolutely right about Big Ben. He's just not in great shape, and he's not the guy he used to be as far as being able to escape the pocket. What I would do is I would lean a little bit more today on Najee Harris. I mean, he's really fun to watch play. I would try and run the ball a little bit more if I was Pittsburgh, and then pick and choose when you're throwing the ball, especially when you don't have Claypool. I mean, that kind of speed on the outside. So, but again, it's Aaron Rodgers, and the one thing you never do, you never bet against Aaron Rodgers. So I can see Green Bay winning this game.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You never bet against Aaron Rodgers.
Nope.
It's a tough one. Aaron Rodgers, I mean, listen, a lot of talk, obviously, we saw, obviously, during the offseason, and Aaron Rodgers just wanted it to pretty much, I guess, have more room for everyone to talk and communicate and everything else, because he said it was owed to the Packers fans. And you know what? He had a great point about it. So you can't hate the man, because obviously he knew exactly what he was talking about. He knew what he wanted to do. It had nothing to do about money. Obviously, he rejected that one as far as the restructured contract and paying more money. But we all know he's going to retire as a Green Bay Packer. And they're probably going to add 2 more years to his contract. So there's a lot of things that are going to happen in Green Bay. But, yeah, it's kind of tough to say that obviously Pittsburgh will win this game unless from some crazy miracle ends up happening. But, yeah, Green Bay walks away with this one. I don't think it's – you're not probably talking about a big blowout either. But then again, someone today is due for a big blowout game. Obviously, we saw that from the Cowboys last week on Monday night. So someone is due for a brand new week, and we shall see. There's one video that I want to play before we all sign off here. And, by the way, Meek Mill drops a new album this week. And the title of this one here is called Expensive Pain. But it was tied in with the Eagles. So we need to motivate the crowd here before the actual game starts. Well, hopefully there's a little motivation for everybody.
I'm not in competition with my homies, I'm whipping the competition in the rollers. I knew my opposition never knew me, they wouldn't be opposition if they know me. I made the proposition to my hitters, I told them to knock them down if you owe me. I just been signed round, handling bidding, we moving, we got pounds in them 40s up. Got shot down, we was whoring my homie a op now, so we on her. I was like 16 with the Mac on me deep in the field like it's Pop Warner. Where did the seem? Cracked on me when they got real, try to slide on us. I made some ends, put the guys on it, we keeping it real. Nah, and my homie is savage, got put in a casket and I'm mad at him cause he died on us. Just love his viewing and I told his mom every time that she cry we gon' slide on her. I look you right there in the eye and I ain't surprised you ain't ride for us. How would you feel if you bust a mill with some and they suicide on you? How would you feel? When you so lit that you can't tell if the love real. If I can't tell you nothing, I tell you how I thug feel. And you ain't your stash can pay my bill.
Meek Mill can get you fired up. I don't know who can. So the great show by the guys today. We do appreciate it. By the way, everyone, if you want to catch the live replays, and by all means, subscribe and like to our Broad Street South YouTube channel. The same way when it comes to BroadStreetSouth.com. View the replays. Also, while you're there, you can listen to the audio version of the show, which we downloaded after the show here. So you can listen to the audio side from iHeartRadio to Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pondex Index, Spotify. Whenever you download your audio, yes, we try. We try to download the audio from everywhere. So if you guys get a chance, please visit BroadStreetSouth.com. Take a look at all the links that are on there. Oh, by the way, also available on Amazon Music as well. So good things happening, and so more things to come here from Broad Street South as the season progresses. We're into year 2. Sure, Phil.
Angel, just real quick before we go, you talked earlier about another Red October without the Phillies in it, and how ironic that Gabe Kapler right now, his team has the best record in baseball, 106 wins. It's Terry Francona all over again, right?
Yeah, that's a dagger to the heart. But it's true. Great point. Yeah, exactly. Because we saw Gabe. Listen, he's like, I refer to him as from MTV, good Lord, at the Jim Tan Laundry there with the boys.
Yes.
So it's the same way too. But listen, it wasn't 100% analytics, because I know San Fran has stated to him that they didn't want 100% analytics with that team. But you know what? Say what we want to say. He's out of Philly. Now, potentially here, he could be making a good run in the postseason. And that hurts. Thanks, Phil, for reminding me of that one.
Sorry.
I completely forgot about that. But listen, the postseason looking pretty good, though. All the teams that are in, I mean, this should be a really interesting postseason. Obviously, Houston, the fans are loving that they're back in there. Yankees may not. Obviously, from the whole trash can thing, whatever you want to call it. But Houston looking great. Obviously, the White Sox, same way out of Chicago. I mean, there's a lot of good teams in the postseason, so this should be a good matchup. Coming up here in just in a couple days here, we see the wild card winners, and then the division series starts from there. So, unfortunately, even though the Bryce Harper carried the Phillies on his back for the most part, especially the last month of September, they came up short. and we hope for better things during the winter meetings this year. And I know you brought up Sir Anthony Dominguez here at the just yesterday, and I guess I don't know if that's because of trade bait or what happens, but we'll see. The offseason in the winters in the winter here, and obviously during the winter meetings, are going to mean a lot to Philly. And if Matt Glentak talked about spending stupid money just a couple years ago, that might have to be the reason. Don't spend a whole bunch of it, but you're going to have to definitely beef up. One is the bullpen. Oh, by the way, down there in Clearwater, the Threshers, you guys need to find just a tad bit more talent, because this year we were fortunate to watch a couple games down there from the Threshers. Not saying by all means they had a bad season, but a couple players need to say, well, you know, I tried, my career's done, and move on from there so we can move up throughout the league. But a lot of things to happen with the Phillies. I'm pretty sure we're going to be reflecting upon the longest running, I think, team right now in MLB has not been in the playoffs since obviously winning the World Series. So things can change. We're expecting bigger things from the Phillies, same thing we are with the Eagles here. But Phil, I don't want you to go away after the podcast is over here real quick so I can talk to you about something.
Today's my laundry day, man.
Is it?
It's my laundry day. Sunday's my cleanup day, and the game starts in 25 minutes. I know what you want to talk about, and I'll be willing to talk to you about that. But I gotta clean my undies, man.
Listen, I'm sorry. I try here. Pollo, thanks for joining us again from Espanol in Chiefs Kingdom there in Mexico. Muchas gracias.
No, hombre, it's a pleasure. Just a last stat. Andy Reid, if he wins this game, he will be the first head coach in NFL history to win 100 games or more in 2 different teams.
Yep, and it's incredible. It's really incredible. And see, if Phil didn't put the knife in there any harder, you just decided to turn it 2 more times to us. But it's okay. It happens.
Hey, the same thing happened with Dick Vermeil, right? Dick Vermeil leaves here and wins the Super Bowl somewhere else. It's like the guys leave here, and boom, they're successful elsewhere. I don't know.
No, that's so true. Listen, what else can you say? It's honest to God's truth. By the way, thanks to our sponsor as well, Tampa Joe's, Philly to South, the official fan club of Broad Street South here. Everyone's down there at 9316 Anderson Road. We hope that everyone enjoys the game there in the house. We know there was a visitor from Texas going down there to watch the Kansas City game. So hopefully her family made it out there to Tampa Joe's. So everyone, please take a look at our local restaurants here in Tampa, Florida, as well in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania here. But support Tampa Joe's, and we appreciate it. Same way with LG Direct Sales Solutions at lgdirect.net. Larry Gilman, by the way, if not only is it secure payment solutions, but also if you need apparel, please go to lgdirect.net and or call him at 855-777-3863. That's 855-777-3863. And, of course, my favorite, because it is our special partnership with Goose's Monte Cristo Lounge and Tobacconist. Visit him at 250 West Ridge Pike in Limerick, Pennsylvania, for the finest Monte Cristos in the Delaware Valley, and/or to cigargoose.com, so you guys can enjoy all the fantastic flavors that he has up there. But you must be 21 in order to purchase tobacco products. So again, thanks to Phil Andrews. Thank you to Pollo. Everyone else, we hope that you enjoy the game. I will bring up here the closeout here. Enjoy the game. We will see everybody come next week. So go Birds, and let's hope they win. Maybe, I don't know, by 21-17. So go Birds. We'll see you next week.